But these trade agreements, they really tie our hands in the long run. I mean, I'm a capitalist. I believe in free trade. I believe in trade. What did we do before 1993 in NAFTA? We showed this entire world how to trade, how to manufacture, how to import, and how to export. What have we been doing since 1993 in NAFTA that David supported, and CAFTA, and the WTO, and we have now the Colombian Trade Agreement, and the FTAA, the Free Trade Area of the Americas. We have been tying our hands. The global economy may be doing better, but I'm concerned right now about the American economy. When people, they close a Maytag plant and those people lose their jobs back in the Midwest, that is a real shock for those American jobs right there.
Now that is not a very typical, what you see on television, Republican attitude, worrying about the Maytag people and the jobs here.
Well, I worry about the American economy, and I'm not opposed to trade. I'm not going to sit here like Hillary and Obama and say get rid of all these trade agreements. However, it is puzzling to me why David has this big push for what I call these world trade agreements. We can, you know, if we have too much corn one year, another country has too much sugar, let's be business people as we are in this country and make a deal. But why enter into permanent trade agreements? Another aspect here is that David, I believe it comes up every 3 years or so, my opponent votes again and again for most favored nation status for communist China. And no matter how you look at it, we are dealing with communist China. Our trade deficit with communist China right now is, I guess, approaching $300 billion, contributing to an $800 billion plus trade imbalance that we have. Is this healthy for the American economy?
Well, another issue that I'd like your opinion on, which is an opinion, it's very important to Mark and I as criminal prosecutors, and that is there has been basically an agreement with Mexico that we will not extradite any murderer and give them the death penalty.
Exactly.
That's something that I totally disagree with, because what it does, in my opinion, it creates a safe haven, which means if you are of Mexican descent and you murder somebody, get your rear as quick as you can to Mexico, and what you have done is guaranteed yourself that while every other person in the United States is eligible for the death penalty, the only people that aren't eligible for the death penalty are Mexican nationals or people who say they came from Mexico. Right. And I think that is a very dangerous precedent. Mark, do you agree with that?
I don't want to encourage anybody to cross the border to get out from accountability.
Yeah,
now, what do you think about that?
Well, David Dreyer, well, certainly, I would be in favor of denying aid to nations that would not extradite those cop killers and so on and so forth back to us. And David opposed the amendment to that legislation there. And so we're on the two different sides of the fence here.
Well, what Steve Cooley and actually Dave Dreyer both said is that that's the only way they could get these people to justice in the United States.
Well, there again, that is an affront to our sovereignty as a nation. We should be able to extradite whomever we wish and deal with them how we do. If we have a death penalty, that's what we have. And if it calls for the death penalty, you as a prosecutor, I'm sure that you'll take care of it.
Well, that was because the government wouldn't put any sanctions on Mexico for not delivering the body up. For example, illegal immigrants here, we don't enforce any of our laws. For every cop killer you keep and demand life as opposed to death, well, we're going to do this to everybody who's here illegally. We don't do any tit for tat.
Well, another perfect example that would work is if we shut down the border. We shut down the flow going into Mexico or back from Mexico. I have a feeling they would be extraditing. I don't think when the manufacturers in Mexico are seeing their profits going down, they're going to say, you know what, it's important for us to keep this cop killer. We're going to keep this cop killer here. I think instead of using the economic power that the United States has had, unfortunately what we've done is we've capitulated to Mexico and let them choose who gets the death penalty and who doesn't. And the reason why that's not good is because someday, I think Mark, you'll agree with me, a smart defense attorney is going to say it's a violation of equal protection. That my client who's from Canada when it was extradited, my client who is from Bangladesh or any other place faces the death penalty. But Mark's client who is from Mexico doesn't face the death penalty. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the type of opening that I think the defense attorneys would want.